Hey guys, welcome to What's New in Zabbix 7.4 webinar. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes, so we're just waiting for everyone to join in, and then in 2-3 minutes we will begin with the presentation. Thank you. Hey guys, and welcome one more time to What's New in Zabbix 7.4 webinar. So let's begin. It's about time we should start. Probably more people will be joining us, those latecomers, but we will try and take it easy, take it slowly, and the recording of this will also be available to you guys so you can watch it later at your own pace, or those who are missing this will also be able to access it on YouTube and watch the recording. So let us begin. Zabbix 7.4 is out. It's our latest major release. It's a non-LTS release. And we have a couple of really great features that we want to discuss. We will also have a Q&A session at the end of this, and also a live demo. I'll present a brief live demo where we'll look at an instance that's been freshly updated to Zabbix 7.4, and we'll look at a couple of features and present them to you guys so you can see how they behave in a real life environment and what you can get out of them. This time we're hosting our webinar on YouTube, so feel free to use the YouTube chat if you have any questions or comments. Either I will answer the questions or one of my colleagues will cover them in the chat. So I'll be sort of looking at the chat, and if something that I think is good and maybe worthwhile mentioning pops up, I'll answer it live. But yeah, my colleagues will also have you covered. So let's begin. Our first major feature, the newly created host wizard. If you've deployed Zabbix 7.4, maybe you've already heard or noticed that, yeah, we've simplified host creation by quite a lot. So the goal of the host wizard is to guide Zabbix users, especially new Zabbix users, through the initial host creation and configuration. You can still use the host creation that has always been there. You can still click create host in data collection hosts and create a host in the same way as you have done it before, but now you also have the host wizard button. And Host Wizard will guide you through its various sections in creating a host for Zabbix. So this is especially great for newcomers or people who simply don't feel comfortable with various Zabbix terms like macros, interfaces, configuring templates, and so on. There are also some other benefits that I'll cover down the line. So you access the Host Wizard from Data Collection Hosts, right? There you have a button, Host Wizard. You click on it, and then you can select a template from a list of templates selected by supported by the host wizard. So under the hood in the templates, in Zabbix official templates, we now have a couple of new fields. One of them is wizard ready field, and if a template is marked as wizard ready under the hood, it'll be available over here in the host wizard. We'll also provide a guide for vendors and third-party template creators to make their own templates host wizard ready. So you select a template here, and here right now you can select only a single template. So select a single template, and the host wizard will guide you through the configuration steps, and the host will then be created with said template. If you need to apply more templates, you can actually over here in the host selection screen select an existing host and then select one more template, and then that template will also be applied on an existing host. So that way you can apply multiple templates if you need to do it just one by one. So depending on the type of template, is it an agentless template? Is it an SNMP template? Is it a Zabbix agent template? And so on. You will be guided through the host wizard configuration steps where you might have to configure an interface, and host wizard will tell you right off the bat what needs to be configured, what each field means. And in case, for example, of agent configuration, it will let you to configure the encryption when communicating with the agent, and will also give you a command line command to deploy the agent on your endpoint. So host wizard will provide all of the information required to start monitoring the host. The same deal is with SNMP or GMX or IPMI or any other interface or any other approach. Once you've done configuring this part, you will also see additional description. So if there are additional steps that need to be performed for the template to work, so let's say we're doing cloud monitoring, right? And you need to provide different API keys and authentication parameters and give permissions on the cloud side, the host wizard will also provide that information. And finally, you will see template level macros. So new users can maybe easily miss template level macros and therefore be a bit confused about, hey, how can I change templates, template trigger thresholds, for example, on my hosts or stuff like that, or authentication parameters via macros, or what even are macros. So here we describe to you what macros are used on the template, and you can fine-tune them directly during the host creation in the host wizard. So on the right side of the screen, you see various macro values, their descriptions, and I think it's very human readable and very accessible way to fine-tune them. Once again, if you're used to creating the hosts from data collection hosts, click create a host, go to the macros tab. You can still do it the old way, the way you're used to. But host creation is just a nicer, more guided way. Maybe if you're deploying a new type of template for a first time, even if you're familiar with Zabbix, you want to go through the host wizard because it just gives you this the manual, the description done by our team, where you can neatly see what needs to be done for the template to work. So once the configuration is finished, your host will be created in Zabbix, and it will behave just like any other host, right? Let me see. I'm just taking a look at the chat. What do we have going on here before we move on to our next large feature? Is the host wizard available through the API? That's a good question. Right off the bat, I don't think it is. My colleagues can double check it. They can look at our documentation if we've updated the API. But yeah, I see you're asking for that command line parameter, right, to deploy, for example, the agent. I'll ask my colleagues on the other side of this chat to check out the updated API methods if there's anything that works with Host Wizard. From my side, I don't think so. I'm not aware of it, but let's double check and then you'll get your answer in the chat in a bit. As for our next feature, so we've done a couple of great things with low-level discovery. We've improved it and we've implemented some long-awaited features that mostly will benefit, I'm going to be honest here, more experienced users, because low-level discovery now in itself can be quite complex, right? Sort of wrapping your head around low-level discovery macros and dependent low-level discovery rules and stuff like that. So we further improved it. We've allowed you to create nested low-level discovery rules. So we now in our low-level discovery, we can create not just item, trigger, host, and graph prototypes. We can actually create discovery prototypes. So we have a new type of prototypes, and this way we can create multiple levels of discovery. A discovery rule can create its own child discovery rules, and you can do this on an unlimited number of levels. So sort of drill down, and an unlimited number of levels, unlimited nesting is supported here. So this is very useful for a couple of examples. Let's say if you're discovering database instances, you can use nested low-level discovery rules to discover tables per each instance. If you're discovering services or applications via low-level discovery, you can then create nested low-level discovery rules to discover underlying components for each service or application. Or you can discover hypervisors and use nested low-level discovery to discover virtual machines or containers. The sky is the limit over here. It very much depends on what kind of data you are receiving, what kind of JSON you're receiving, and how do you wish to implement this. In a bit, we will talk about nested host prototypes, which is a similar approach that can also be used for these use cases and some others. So at the end of the day, it'll be up to you. So now we have a new low-level discovery rule type, nested low-level discovery. It can have its own prototypes, including discovery prototypes. So we support multi-level nesting here. And over here on the screen, you can actually see, right, the nested low-level discovery rules. I'm in the discovery rule section over here in the bottom image, and you can see discovery rules created by parent low-level discovery rule over here for discovering database table spaces for different database instances. So very similarly, in a similar vein, we have nested host prototypes. So once again, I've talked to different Zabbix admins over the years, and this is another feature that has been also quite requested, similar to nested low-level discovery. So hosts discovered from host prototypes can now use low-level discovery to create hosts of their own. So very similar to nested low-level discovery, but this is on a host level. So we can define nested host prototypes in multiple levels. Similarly, unlimited number of levels supported, same as with low-level discovery, nested low-level discovery. And we can combine nested host prototypes and nested low-level discovery rules to enable a variety of different use cases. Once again, it very much depends on what kind of monitoring data you're receiving, what kind of JSONs you're receiving, how are you transforming them, and what you can do with that low-level discovery data at the end of the day. So this is, for example, very useful actually for some of the use cases that we covered previously, but also we have a couple of new ones here. So let's say you're discovering server cluster hosts, and then these server cluster hosts create their own hosts for individual cluster nodes. Or you're discovering database hosts, which in turn discover hosts for database tables, similarly to how we approach the nested low-level discovery, only this time it's more host-based. We can discover storage array hosts, which will in turn discover storage devices per each array, or discover hypervisor hosts, which in turn will discover and create hosts for each virtual machine. So once again, here we need to think, are we doing things like on a single host, discovering components on a single host, or do we need that host hierarchy, right? Hypervisor hosts, then virtual machine hosts, database hosts, then database table hosts. Both of these approaches are viable, and it's kind of up to you to figure out what works best for you. Let me see. a couple of questions over here. So my colleague verified that the wizard is not available through the API. Okay, but yeah, you can use the classic host-related methods with Ansible to achieve the same results for automation. Sorry for the late question. In the wizard, can I limit the templates available for a specific host group? If the new host goes to X host group, it can only use the templates allowed for that host group. Okay, 1 second. Let me just try. If the new host goes to X host group, it can only use the templates. Oh, okay, I see. If the new host goes into a particular host group, we can only apply particular templates to it. Right off the bat, I also don't think that there is such a limitation. That's possible. We have our default sort of user access to templates, right? We can use user groups to limit access to templates. So that can be done, but that's something that was there also previously, right? Users in a particular user group can assign a particular set of templates. So that can be done. That host to template logic hasn't been implemented. Do nested host prototypes work for Proxmox out of the box? So our official templates, I don't think we've made changes to existing ones to utilize nested low-level discovery or nested host prototypes yet. So you would need to fine-tune it on your own currently. Regarding VMware, once again, I'm not aware if they utilize this logic. I think they still utilize the previous logic with host prototypes on a single level, but maybe that's something on our to-do list, or we'll do it eventually if there's requests for it. But as far as I'm aware, they still utilize that old logic with one level of host prototypes for guest VMs and hypervisors. Okay, let's see what else. That's it for now, I think. Then let's move on. We have a new widget. So over here, we've implemented item card widget. Previously in 7.2, we added a host card widget, which provided information about a host, right? Different data points could be displayed about a host, such as host interface, states, IP addresses, host name, and so on, navigation to various host entities, etc. So we've done the same with the item. The item card widget enables you to create a customizable view for a single item. In this view, you can see the latest data with a Sparkline view, but also select a variety of different other fields. For example, you can see error messages. If the item has an error message, it can be displayed in the item card widget. You can see the related triggers, type of information collected by the item, and various other data points. So this is useful if you have a set of items that you need to explicitly monitor and see what's going on with them. Then this item card widget is just for that. Once again, if you've used host card widget from 7.2, then item card behaves very, very similarly. You can select which fields you want to display. You can move them around. Over here, we can see hide some fields, add other fields. For sparklines, you can customize how that sparkline is displayed. If you're using inventory, you can populate this with inventory information just to provide some additional insights about the item. Populate this with tags and see tags and so on. Then let's move on. Next up, we will talk about various other features where we've made multiple improvements across the board. So we've introduced a couple of smaller things that, when combined, have sort of a large impact. First off, network map improvements, and there are a variety. So first off, finally, map background images can be scaled and scale automatically proportionally to map dimensions, so you don't have to manually change the size and the scale of the background image of your map. It will automatically scale to the map size. Map links. So previously, we had only a single way how we can make a link change its color and its type, and that was linking it to a trigger. Right? Link indicator could only be linked to a trigger. If a trigger is in a problem state, the link changes its color and its type. Now in 7.4, we can simply define our own thresholds just like we can in some of the widgets, such as item value widget, for example. So we can do this for map link indicators. If an item value is above some threshold, change the link color or type. So no need to create triggers just for links over here to change the way they are displayed. You can just input the value yourself. Also, map element icons can now be ordered when you're placing them one on top of another. And this can be seen over here. We have a rack image, a server rack with various servers in it. And you can sort of bring one icon, one element to front or to back and build them on top of each other. Host group map elements will now take into account nested host groups when displaying host group related information. So improvements to how host group information for host group elements is displayed. And map link and element labels can now be hidden and only be displayed on mouse hover. So only when you scroll with a mouse over an element, its label can be displayed. So hidden by default, just to make the map a bit cleaner looking, but once you hover over with your mouse, it'll be displayed. So this is for those who are looking for a cleaner view of their maps. Let me take a look at the chat, so nothing else. Thanks to my colleagues for covering for me. So we've also done various dashboard improvements. So first off, something that I think a lot of you will appreciate. So we now are able to select between two color schemes: solid color, which is something that you are used to and was available in previous versions, and also a new palette color scheme. And over here you can see in the screenshot we have various palette color schemes. Some of them a bit all over the place, some of them more sort of aligned with a particular color, so a green or blue. But the goal here was, many of you complained that when you're defining your graphs with solid color, with the existing color scheme, different items on the graphs were simply displayed in the shades of a single color, and it was really hard to tell different items apart, especially if you have 5-10 items on the graphs. With this palette color scheme, you get more control. So you can sort of pick the first palette. You can see is all over the place. It's a bit of a rainbowy approach where items will have completely different colors. And you can also select a palette that's more closer to a shade of a single color, right? Like I have on the screen with the blue color. We'll take a look at how this behaves live. And this way, it's a lot easier to sort of tell multiple items apart on a graph. And this helps with just graph usability, especially if we have many items in a single graph. Widget configuration changes are now also displayed instantly. So previously, you had to configure your widget, hit apply, and only then you saw what those configuration changes actually entailed. Now, widgets are updated live as you change their configuration. So this should be also very helpful for those working with dashboards, for those creating dashboards, and for those who just want to instantly see, okay, I'm doing this. What does this actually mean for newer users, especially, or users playing with new widgets, right? So now when you're configuring this new item card widget, you can instantly see what you're adding to it. Regarding nested level discovery, you will need that JSON conversion, yes. All right. Let's see, we have some other questions. Can you lock a color to a displayed name so that item 1 will have the same color in all graphs in the dashboard? Currently, no, not yet. We just introduced this new palette. This only covers sort of the new color scheme. No additional features color scheme wise yet. No changes to the honeycomb currently. Okay. Some more improvements. So we've changed and updated the global view dashboard. That's one of our default dashboard that comes right out of the box. We've introduced some of our newer widgets to it just so you can get more out of existing dashboards that come out of the box with Zabbix. If you're upgrading Zabbix, of course, you won't be able to see this, right? Because we deploy dashboard only during Zabbix installation. But if you're deploying a new instance, then you'll be able to see it on a fresh instance. So new users will get a better global view dashboard. Another really great feature that'll be helpful to everyone. This has already saved me a lot of headache. So I work with Zabbix day to day with latest versions, and even I mess up sometimes, right? Everybody does, especially when you're configuring complex triggers or items. So inline form validation. As of Zabbix 7.4, we've added inline form validation for host configuration, for template configuration, item configuration, and trigger configuration. So this means that in these forms for fields in host, template, item, and trigger configuration, whenever you start writing your host name or item key or trigger expression, if you make a mistake there or forget to enter something like I did over here in the screenshot for my host name, Zabbix will display the error message live. You don't have to click apply or update or create. Immediately as you leave the field, you will see if there is a problem with the configuration that you have entered. And I encountered this a couple of days ago as I was configuring a trigger, and I think I forgot to either close a bracket somewhere when referencing an item or something like that. And instantly it gave me this error message, right? That, hey, the syntax is wrong. You forgot to close the bracket over here. And it actually saved me, a minute, which over time accumulates. If you work with Zabbix day to day, it's going to save you hours over the weeks and months that you spend on configuring your items and triggers. So I think this is extremely beneficial from the UX perspective. All right. Then another big feature. So when we've talked about security, so pretty much 99% of Zabbix traffic can be encrypted. One exception is front-end to server communication. And now that also can be encrypted. And front-end talks to server to perform, for example, item tests. It checks the server availability by communicating with Zabbix Trapper processes. So now we can configure certificate encryption for front-end to server communication. We have a couple new parameters in the Zabbix server configuration file. So TLS front-end accept, where we configure what kind of incoming connections do we accept from the front-end, then certificate issuer and subject, and allowed IP addresses. And this specifies that front-end connections will be accepted only from these IP addresses that we configure in the server configuration. And also the same thing on the front-end side. When we go through that initial front-end configuration, we will have a new checkbox. So encrypt connections from web interface, and there we can provide certificate information and encrypt those connections. Finally, some smaller UX UI improvements. We have a new notification section under user settings where we can customize notification settings for the current user. All users can now manage their own media, and this can be revoked via roles. For pre-processing, the results of pre-processing can now be copied to clipboard. We have a new copy to clipboard button. This is once again a small thing, but could be very useful for troubleshooting. Is there an easy way to identify which templates are incompatible with the host wizard? An easy way, not necessarily. Yeah, it will just give you the message that some templates are incompatible. It won't explicitly tell you which ones are those. For deploying the latest templates, as of 7.4, visit our documentation, visit our What's New in Zabbix 7.4 page. In our documentation section, you will see that for upgrade notes, we have instructions to get your templates up to date, the host wizard supported ones. And you can see then the full list of templates. We have provided a couple of YAML files that will update your existing templates so they support host wizard. So take a look at the What's New in Zabbix 7.4 documentation page. And of course, we've added a couple of new templates and integrations. We've improved a variety of existing webhooks. Many of you know that over time, the endpoints that we communicate with, they change things on the vendor side, right? Teams has changed stuff over time. I think Jira, Discord has changed over time. So we've updated the existing webhooks, so we follow the latest vendor improvements, documentation, changes, and simply refactor the webhooks so they are as optimized as possible. And we've added a couple of new templates for Pure Storage, for Azure, for Palo Alto, Juniper, and Dell over here you can see. So various types of endpoints, from cloud endpoints to storage devices, networking devices, and so on. So these are some of the new templates that we have added. And of course, throughout the life cycle of Zabbix 7.4, we'll continue delivering new templates and new webhooks. And finally, some very niche changes and improvements. So Vault secret macros can now be resolved also by Zabbix Proxy or Zabbix Server. Previously, only Zabbix Server could resolve them. We have a new ICMP ping retry simple check, which monitors host responses to ICMP pings with the ability to modify the number of retries. We have new timestamp tracking history functions that can react and analyze timestamps of the collected data, for example. We've added also macros that you can use, built-in macros for item value time tracking in various formats. Then for history cache, we've made various improvements and tools that you can use for history cache troubleshooting. Zabbix Server and Proxy now automatically logs history cache diagnostic information when the history cache is full. Also, disabled items are now immediately removed from history cache, which should improve performance and save some space in history cache. And we can now manually clear the history cache for a specific item. So if we diagnose that one item is filling up our history cache, maybe it's misconfigured, maybe it's collecting extreme amounts of data that we're unable to flush in time, we can use history cache clear and then specify the item by its ID, and history cache will be cleared of the entries from that item. And finally, we've added support of Gmail OAuth authentication. So the existing Gmail media type has also been improved and now supports OAuth. And before we proceed with the live demo, let me mention a couple of things. So if you wish to upgrade to 7.4 or deploy Zabbix 7.4 fresh, we can help you out, guys. Our upgrade service will get you up to speed, upgrade you to Zabbix 7.4, or deploy a fresh Zabbix 7.4 instance with the latest features, the latest best practices, latest performance improvements, and so on, so you can use it in your environment. Also, if you just want to grab a couple of hours of consulting and talk about upgrades or some of the features that we've discussed over here, that's also a service that we provide. If you wish to talk to various Zabbix professionals, community members, myself and my team members, our largest yearly event, Zabbix Summit 2025, will be hosted in Riga on October 8th to 10th. So we expect all of you guys to be here every year. The summit improves and grows larger and larger, and we sort of get the experts and community members from different industries and different parts of the globe. So it sort of expands and becomes more accessible and contains different types of experts every year. So this year is also very promising. So definitely sign up, and I'll see you guys on premises and chat with me. And over when October hits, we might be able to also talk about the upcoming Zabbix versions in more detail. So right now 7.4 is out, and Summit might be the best place where you can learn about some of our upcoming features at that point. And if you're willing to learn about some of the things that I covered here, dashboards, dashboard widgets, low-level discovery, right? I talked about low-level discovery. Can be very, very confusing if you're a newbie. How does that work? Especially now with nesting and stuff like that. So our core courses, they cover 7.0 Zabbix, so that will get you started with these features, and then you can build up to 7.4 over time, or wait until 8.0 is out when we will upgrade our courses and then learn about the updated features then. We have 4 levels of our core courses, from certified user, which sort of guides you through basic Zabbix features, Zabbix graphical user interface, and just sort of allows you to interact with Zabbix and feel more comfortable when you're working with it and exploring data and problems. To Zabbix certified specialist, where you will go into Zabbix configuration, item creation, host management, trigger creation, some of our best practices. To professional, where you will talk more about distributed monitoring, work a bit more with command line, different command line tools, Zabbix tuning. To expert, where you will learn all the inner designs of Zabbix, how internal processes work, how they interact with one another. You'll be able to tune a Zabbix environment of any size. You will sort of understand what's going on under the hood. And we'll also look a bit at the source code over there, so you will also feel somewhat at home with the code itself. And of course, upgrade courses. If you already have the certification of an older version, you can get upgraded to the latest version with our specialist, professional, and expert upgrade courses. And if you're interested in a particular topic, such as database monitoring or data pre-processing or security administration, or you have a lot of SNMP devices and you wish to learn more about how you can monitor those, our extra courses are there for you. They are in a bit of a shorter format, but they're focused on one particular topic, and this is where you can chat with a trainer and ask your questions and just sort of go at it with one particular topic and solve multiple problems related to that topic and learn more about not just Zabbix, but also monitoring, security, SNMP, data transformation, and much more. Finally, our blogs provide latest technical how-tos, latest news, case studies, use cases, and so on. So feel free to sign them up. We're having a lot of traffic, a lot of new entries over there lately, covering different use cases of different Zabbix features. So you're definitely welcome to check the blog out. And of course, follow us on our various social networks where we post about the latest Zabbix features and our sort of daily comings and goings. What are we doing? Where are we doing? What events are we attending? And so on. Follow us and you'll be able to meet us whenever we are. You'll learn about all the events that we attend and you'll be able to just figure out where we're at and say hi to us. And finally, if you're interested in our services, or any other Zabbix related stuff, you can drop us an email or give us a call. Over here you have the contact info available for various regions. So before we proceed, let's see what's going on with the chat, and maybe I can answer some questions. Let's see. Let me check. A lot of stuff going on here. Let's see what's the most related. So I have upgraded to Zabbix 7.4, and you're missing historical data of file system related metrics from Linux Windows host. So I guess those were discovered automatically by a discovery rule, I assume. So after the upgrade, maybe the discovery rule got recreated and those items were and triggers were either deleted or yeah, just dropped. Yeah, that's what Cuspers is saying. The items created by the low-level discovery were probably deleted and recreated, rediscovered, and that's why you're missing the data. Let me check what else do we have here. How can I troubleshoot and resolve server crashes when monitoring Kubernetes using endpoint APIs and token-based macros? So if you're talking about Zabbix server crashes, take a look at Zabbix logs. What's going on with Zabbix logs, increase log levels for specific processes doing Kubernetes monitoring, and see what's going on with those. But if Zabbix server crashes, it's probably not necessarily due to Kubernetes monitoring in on itself. It's probably something, going on the Zabbix server side. Maybe configuration caches are full and it crashes because of that, or something along those lines. Okay, let's now quickly move over to a live demo. I want to show you a couple of features. So I should have a Zabbix environment ready over here. Let me switch over to it. So over here, I have my Zabbix environment. Let me put this in full screen mode. And first, so these graphs, this was freshly updated. These graphs use the solid color scheme, right? We can look at the color scheme over here. It's a solid color. And now we have a new tab, palette. And over here, we can see various types of palettes, right? And if I select the first one, You can see the graphs look very, very rainbowy over here, right? And I can leave them like this. I can maybe change it to a more sort of samey color palette. This looks a bit better, not as all over the place, but we can tell the different items apart right over here. And as for the second data set, once again, I can change it to palette, select a different palette over here. And then now we can see one data set uses palette, the other one uses the default solid color. We can see that over here, the green solid color. We can make them both use palettes of different types. And they're a bit easier to tell apart. Maybe not really visible over here because some items are dominating the other ones, but a lot better. They don't blend in. If I use just solid colors for these data sets, you will see that they blend in a lot more. I'm going to switch to solid color over here. So you can see, right, you can just see red and sort of green or yellow over here. Same with these bar graphs. If I go back to solid color, change it to blue, right, a lot harder to tell different values apart. Is it possible to add new palettes? Currently, no. But we're thinking about how we can make the UI a lot more customizable, so you can add stuff such as new themes or new palettes or new things. You can already add your own widgets, but we're working on giving you the ability to add more stuff yourself, but that's something that we'll talk about at a later date. Okay, next up, let's go to data collection host. So I've updated some of my templates here. I'm going to leave this to support Host Wizard. And let's see Host Wizard in action. So you can see I have a new button over here, Host Wizard. I have the welcome screen over here. I click next, and yeah, over here I see only some of the templates that I've updated are supported. Let's look at some agentless templates. So for example, AWS EC2, let's see what that gives us. Let's click next. So it tells me to create a host name. So let's call this Zabbix 7.4 AWS. Let's add this to, pressed tabbed out of it, Zabbix 7.4 AWS. And let's add it to AWS host group, which will be a new host group over here. Click next. And here I can see all of the additional information. The permissions I need to add to IAM policy in order to collect EC2 metrics, role authorization, and various other things. So this is all available in the front end. Previously, you had to access our integration page to see this. Now it's available in the front end. Now let's click next. And finally, we have our macros, right, grouped very nicely. And we can customize all of these macros over here. They are explained directly here. We can customize them. And once we click next, the host will be created, right? We can try and create our host and then look at it. I haven't populated any macros, but over here, the host is instantly opened in the latest data, Zabbix 74 AWS over here. Right, we can search for it. Zabbix 74, there it is, right? I could have achieved the same with create host. And another nice thing, so let's open the host wizard once again, and let's now create, I have a Windows by Zabbix agent. So I'm going to use the agent right now, the agent template, and I'm going to call this Windows agent host, for example. I'm going to add it to Windows servers. Click next. And over here, so it already gives me a list of Zabbix server nodes over here, right? I have 3 nodes in this environment, and it gives me their lists, their addresses and ports over here. It allows me to configure pre-shared key. And over here, I'm selecting the agent deployment target, Windows, and it gives me instructions right off the bat. The PowerShell command to deploy agent. So all I have to do is copy and paste it in my Windows environment. The agent will be installed. And on the host level, next up, let's call this demo PSK. Next, I configure the interface over here. Finally, I get an overview, no additional comments for this template. And I can populate, once again, various macros. And once I've installed the agent via that command and populated these macros. So we have different thresholds, right? Threshold for interface utilization, threshold for disk write average response time. I can click next, click create, and it will open my Windows agent host over here. So it's created. Now let's try going to templates. Let's try opening an existing template trigger, let's say high CPU utilization, and let's try and edit this a bit, right? An inline form validation. So I made a typo here. Inline form validation explicitly tells me what's wrong over here. I really love this feature. Tells me where something is wrong. I don't have to click add. And if I go to data collection hosts, let's say create a host, my host, let's select some template, let's say a Windows by SNMP, sure. I won't enter anything here, and it gives me, okay, host group needs to be added right off the bat, right? Or if I, for example, leave the host name empty, it's gonna tell me the same. So extremely, extremely good. Very, very helpful. We get the same with items. If I go to items and let's say try and create some item over here. Let's say Zabbix agent item, agent ping. I'll try and create it. Over here, agent.ping. Unexpected end of key. It tells me that there's a typo over here. So extremely helpful. So a couple of new features that don't seem like much, right? But on day to day, you will feel this a lot. The inline form validation for both new and experienced users. The host wizard, extremely helpful for also both experienced and new users, because you get all of that information about your host in the front end, in the wizard. Color palette for those working with dashboards, nested low-level discovery, nested host prototypes. Small changes with extremely large impact. Let's see what else do we have here. So my colleagues are already covering it. Yeah, for template updates, it's recommended to update the templates to current version, especially for Zabbix server and proxy health templates, because over time we change internal processes, internal caches, what they do, what kind of caches and processes we have, and only the latest Zabbix server and proxy health templates will be able to monitor that. Let's see. Yeah, it was not possible to actually have a host prototype, create a host of its own. It wasn't supported. They weren't able to do that. Okay, let's see. Is there a method to automate the creation or updating of Zabbix maps? So API, we've had various speeches in previous Zabbix Summit about automating Zabbix map creation. Check out those, but at the end of the day, it'll boil down to API. Currently, it's still manual. Is there any out-of-the-box agent for monitoring login, boot, logout, updates, login failures, change file privileges? So Zabbix agent with the official items, with the items supported out of the box, should be able to monitor some of that stuff. If there's something unsupported, you can extend it with Zabbix user parameters. I would really like to see some feature to easier apply templates to hosts dynamically based on host name when not using an agent. Yeah, currently I guess it would boil down to, once again, API scripting if you wish to automate it that way. Or also network discovery could be a way you could do that. Auto registration is just for the agent, but network discovery could be one way how you could achieve that. Let's see. Is webhook communication possible from front-end encrypted to a matrix server? I'm not sure about the matrix server, but webhooks, once again, they're completely open and anyone can write their own webhook and you can modify existing ones. There should be no issues connecting to any sort of endpoint that supports a webhook. Network discovery does not require receiving values from agents. It can receive a value from an SSH command, from SNMP agents for network devices and various other types. It supports different types of checks. All right, guys, thank you a lot for attending. Thank you a lot for the questions. Feel free to download and install Zabbix 7.4. I did an upgrade on this environment today. I know a bit risky doing it right before the presentation. It was extremely smooth. Should be easy sailing for you guys. Everything works great right out of the box. Yeah, template updates needs to happen. Once again, for template updates, take a look at the What's New documentation page and upgrade notes. Some of the templates are provided and packaged there, so you can import them en masse and use them with Host Wizard. Other than that, all of the latest templates are also available on our Git page where you can download them and apply. Don't forget to install Zabbix server and proxy health templates, right? That's a must do, guys. Okay, thank you a lot, and I'll see you around, guys. Thank you.